Doom the Dark Ages is super underrated, and it really shouldn't be. The team at id Software have created one of the most unique and well-polished first-person shooters ever made, and I don't think it's up for debate that it will be a high contender for one of the best games released in 2025, a year with a roster of amazing games so far. Yet, The Dark Ages was met with backlash from the fans, because apparently this was a step back from 2016 and Eternal. There were criticisms about how the game was easier, that it was oversimplified, or that it was too slow. Now, I bet many of you who clicked on the video would know that many of those critiques do not apply to The Dark Ages, and that many of those criticisms come from a lack of understanding of the overall game's vision, the gameplay loop that the player must strive for. Now, that isn't to say that you are wrong for not enjoying The Dark Ages. That's not what I'm saying. Not everyone is going to enjoy the game, and that is completely fine. id Software is aware of this, and it is part of the bet they make when developing Doom games. The bet being that if you sink your teeth deep into the combat systems of the game, you're going to love it. But this video isn't about the people who dislike the game, or believe it is a step back from what came prior. This instead will be about why the game is so much better than some people make it seem it is, and why I've been loving it so much lately. I will also talk about the changes to the overall combat post-update too. Now, with all that being said, let's get right into it. Is Doom the Dark Ages too slow? Absolutely not. That couldn't be any further from the truth. The gameplay footage I'm using as B-roll footage comes from my latest playthrough post-update 2 of the game. The update allows you to customize the slowdown effects of your melee attacks and parrying attacks. Putting the slider all the way to 0% makes a night and day difference. The game feels a whole lot faster and more responsive than it did prior to the update. And it makes me wonder why this option wasn't featured on launch. It is also worth mentioning that the gameplay you're seeing was played at 110% speed, making it slightly faster than the game was originally intended. And as you can see, the game looks fast. Now, you could make the argument that you could push Eternal to be way faster than The Dark Ages. I still tend to disagree. The same argument can be made on The Dark Ages since you have the sliders to make the game a whole lot faster. And that's answering the question by the speed of your movement in both games, not the decisions made every second that you're in combat. Both Doom Eternal and Doom the Dark Ages have similar DNA when it comes to managing your resources and developing strategies on how to kill demons. These games encourage you to sink your teeth deep into their combat systems to be able to come out on top. In Eternal, you're mainly weapon switching, managing resources, dashing, and using your knowledge of the map to your advantage. Dark Ages is both very similar yet very different. There is still a great focus on resource management, but you still defeat demons by using guns, shield, and melee weapons that all complement each other, completely removing the need to weapon switch and allow to lean slightly into the RPG elements. Dark Ages expects from the player to sort of have a build for their slayer, having one or two weapons to cycle through, while having a melee weapon and a shield rune equipped that will complement their firearms of choice. So, adding weapon switch into this combat system would have been too much. It would have overwhelmed many, and it probably would have turned off a lot of players. There is no weapon switching, therefore the game is a step back argument always felt invalid to me. Like, this isn't Doom Eternal 2. It have made it clear from the beginning that they didn't want to make the same game twice. So if you want weapon switching in your Doom game, you already have Eternal. Criticize instead the gameplay aspects that were intended for this gameplay experience. It would be like if I complained that I couldn't roundhouse kick zombies in Resident Evil 2 when I could do that in Resident Evil 4. Those are two completely different games and should be judged as such. Doom the Dark Ages has many new badass weapons. I never found myself using all of them, which again is expected for the combat system that they're going for, but I will note my mains and tell you how I use them in combat. For one, we have the Super Shotgun. It is devastating up close. It also has a great utility for armored demons as he heats it up fast. Its reload time, while being slow, can be skipped by shield bashing into an enemy, and you still have a couple frames to spare at the end of the reload animation to parry incoming attacks. Also, it was just so dang satisfying to use that I carried it everywhere I went. The rocket launcher must be the greatest rocket launcher in any video game period. It does a lot of damage, and self-inflicted damage after a parry gives you health instead for some time. and grants you a charge shot after parrying a projectile. One charge shot alone can wipe out half a tyrant's health. It's insane. Although, the rocket launcher does have a few downsides. Its projectiles are relatively slow, and you can cause self-inflicted damage up close to an enemy if you fail to parry their attacks. The Cycler is extremely powerful, as consistent damage dealt to demons will put them into a shock state where they are more vulnerable to damage, and creates a chain of electricity that attaches to other demons nearby. Great for consistent damage and crowd control. Then you have 3 melee weapons to choose from. You have your Gauntlet, your Flail, and your very own Dread Mace. All these weapons have their specific functions aside from replenishing your ammo. The Gauntlets allow you to shock enemies and deliver a powerful kick on the third attack of the combo. Keep in mind, you can perform the combo in between parrying attacks. You don't need to get the combo off in one go. You can punch, wait, punch again, and then pull the kick off onto another bigger enemy, which will guarantee the enemy to get stunned. The Dread Mace is used to deal a massive amount of damage to enemies. To compensate for the damage, the weapon is made slower and grants you 2 uses instead of 3. Now for my favorite melee weapon, the Flail. It is best used when needing to heat up an enemy's armor, which is now more difficult after the latest update, and when you need to replenish your armor. Finally, we have the Shield Saw, arguably the best weapon in the game. Parrying attacks feels amazing, and blocking is very useful, making the player devastated every time it breaks, which it will if you don't use the blocking mechanic sparingly, or if you suck at parrying. The throwing mechanic is just as fun, as it can cut through enemies like butter, and can stun enemies in place, giving you a window to deal great damage. The Shield Bash was proven to be very useful for movement, basically replacing the meat hook from Eternal. And a charged Shield Bash puts the Arachnotron into a glory kill state, making it a resourceful option that takes them out quickly while also conserving my ammo. New demons have been introduced to make you go up against them toe-to-toe, giving prominence to its tagline of Stand and Fight. The Agadon Hunter is this game's brand new Marauder. He encourages the player to fight up close since he puts up this energy bubble, shielding him from all incoming damage. His attacks are quick, and vary with some delayed ones in between, making you lock in whenever you face him. The Vagary is a fascinating enemy added to the roster. He mainly shoots projectiles, many that you can parry, but he overwhelms you enough to get you moving. He shines the most when accompanied by other projectile-heavy enemies, which I will touch on later in the video. Also, it's fun to break his armor. The Cosmic Baron is possibly the most oppressive enemy in the game. He throws projectiles that vary in their pattern, meaning you must be ready to identify the one that you can parry before it's too late. And he relentlessly chases you around the map, and once he catches up to you, he swings at you. 3 successful parries in a row will put him in a stun. Finally, we have the Komodo, the most annoying demon in the game. His attacks are hard to read, and he throws consistent projectiles at you. Also, he runs away from you and runs towards you a lot, which is extremely annoying. It's like he can't decide whether he's scared of you or if he just wants you dead. Bosses here are to me an overall improvement from this game's predecessors. Commander Creed is a lot of fun to fight and kind of feels like a bullet hell boss. Also, developing strategies to take him out faster was very satisfying. And hence Azrak was very good, although it was extremely difficult to time his attacks. And the rest of the boss fights are pretty meh. You fight Cthulhu in the mech, and you fight a lesser version of Azrak with the Witch. And it was fine. Nothing special though. Since the updates, Doom the Dark Ages has become a better and more difficult experience than it previously was, resembling more so of the challenging Doom Eternal. They've upscaled the skill ceiling by adding more enemies in certain combat arenas, both in the first and second half of the game. You see more Mancubi and Arachnotrons used as support for stronger enemies. And these 2 types of enemies often respawn until you finish the combat encounter, adding even more pressure in fights this time around. And this new added pressure pushes you to improve in your strategies, like figuring out how to kill demons more efficiently, and learning tight parry windows. I had beaten the game 5 times before the updates, and I was instantly humbled by the new enemy placements. For example, in the first combat arena in the Belly of the Beast level, the 2 battle knights in the last wave would keep respawning until I killed the enforcer. Ultimately, I had to use the BFC, because fuck that. Despite Doom the Dark Ages being the most controversial out of the trilogy, it is still a game that you must experience if you're a fan of the modern Doom games. id Software tried to do something different and knocked it out of the park. It is unique, mechanically riveting, and most important of all, it's fun. It may not be Doom Eternal 2, but Doom the Dark Ages is a worthy successor to what came before. Now, I know I didn't talk about the mech and dragon sections. That's because they really didn't stick with me, and I wanted to talk about the stuff I love about the game. Although, I will admit that these sections do drag down the game quite a bit, but despite that, I still believe it is a 9 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please make sure you do so, and I would really appreciate it. And now, with all that being said, see you guys later.